Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you will indulge me, I'm going to remove my mask so I can communicate a little better. Welcome to this year's annual Nash County Farm City Celebration. As you might realize, this is slightly different from what we've grown accustomed to, and we're certainly going to miss that wonderful breakfast that we all enjoyed each year. But otherwise, we have a nice celebration to acknowledge our county, to affirm the farmland, to bring all of our citizens together in one accord. And my name is Parker Phillips. I'm the chairman of the Nash County Extension Advisory Council. I'm honored to be here. When we celebrate Farm City, we try to bring everybody, all aspects of our county and community together, beginning with our biological families and extending out to our neighbors and citizens of the county. And as I said, we are here in one accord. We celebrate the land and what it represents, the sustenance, the provision of it, the stewardship of it, all of these things. Later in the program, you will hear from Greg Bunn, who is president of the Nash County Farm Bureau, and he will tell us all about the good things Farm Bureau continues to do for our farmers as well as for the county, for the citizens. Farm Bureau is a wonderful organization. We are grateful to the 4-H program in Nash County, overseen by the Extension Office, and this is where leadership begins with a lot of our young people. So all of this is in play. We will hear from Lynda Loveland, who formerly was with WRAL, and many of us got to know her through her newscasts. She's now with Farm Bureau and is very active in a lot of rural and farm-related things. To start things off, I'd like to share with you a little story that's all about family. As we sit around the table, our family's heads bowed low, my thoughts are turned to childhood and the finest man I ever did know. He was not a fancy speaker, he was just a simple man, but when he was talking to the Lord, even a little child could understand. I was young and restless, and the thought still comes to me. When I told my dad I thought that I was old enough to leave. He just sat there at the table, but a look came on his face, but he never said another word until he said the table grace. He said, "Our Heavenly Father, we are all gathered here today to give thee thanks for blessings. So humbly, Lord, we pray. Our oldest son is leaving, and I'm sure he knows what's best. But just in case, would you stand by and help him meet the test? He's awful neglectful about going to church on Sunday morning, and if he gets with the wrong crowd, would you let him hold your arm? And if he tries to fly too high, would you kindly clip his wings? But don't let him fall too hard, Lord. I'm sure you can handle things. We've tried our best from day to day to teach him right from wrong, and he's grown to be a fine young man, and he's always blessed our home. Watch over him now and protect him. Don't let him build upon the sand, and we won't worry half as much if we know he's in your hands. And oh yes, Lord, it won't be long till I'll be coming home. Don't make me wait too long. We pray now, Lord, for guidance and cleanse us from our many sins so we can all be together in heaven. In Jesus' name, amen." The table was silent, not a word was said. Bowed heads remained in place. But from that day on, I base my life on Papa's table grace. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. God bless America.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Pledge my head the clear thinking, my heart the greater loyalty, my hands the largest service, and my help for better living, for my club, my community, my country, and my world.
Hi, I'm Greg Bunn, President of Nash County Farm Bureau Federation. I'd like to welcome you to the 2020 virtual version of the annual Farm City Breakfast. I'd like to thank the Nash County Farm Bureau Women's Committee for the decorations behind me, with donations by Linda Fisher, Michael and Hope Edwards, and the Tyson Family Farms. You know, Thanksgiving has always been a time of reflection of the growing season for farmers and farm families. It signals the year's harvest is coming to an end. For some, the weather made it a difficult year. For some, a good year. Rain may have been too little or may have been too much. There was always a rush to get crops seeded during good weather, sometimes working late into the night, only to have it all destroyed by storms. Fortunately, this year we avoided devastating storms. We had a very wet and cold spring and a very wet June. I'm going to run down some of our crops now, the acreage and the forecast. This year's corn crop saw a decrease by 1,300 acres planted down to 3,800 acres total. There were some good corn yields made. It depended on timely planting and timely rainfall. The cotton crop acreage was down by 2,000 acres, ending with 8,000 acres planted. Yields so far are about average. Peanuts for 2020 were at 2,400 acres versus 3,200 acres for 2019. Yields are running average to above average. There was 11,500 acres of sweet potatoes planted this year versus the 2019 crop of 8,700 acres. That's a huge increase in a very expensive crop to plant. The comments I'm hearing on sweet potatoes, the yield and quality is running below average, and this was due to a late cold spring and too much rainfall. Soybean acres this year are up by 3,500 acres to 29,500 acres. Harvest has been underway for a short while, so it's hard to tell what the yields are, but there are some nice looking soybean fields around. Tobacco was down 1,700 acres, totaling 5,500 acres. Tobacco is a big cash crop in Nash County, and anytime acreage is down, it creates a ripple effect in farm supply businesses. The acreage reduction was due to smaller contracts being offered. This year's crop was hurt by an extremely wet June, which is not good for tobacco, and leached out a lot of fertilizer, which created a much lighter than normal crop. There was a small increase in wheat acres totaling 4,300 acres. Wheat yields for this year were average at best. I would also like to mention this year's strawberry crop, which totaled over a little over 11 acres, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot of strawberries once you get to picking. But we had an outstanding and very long growing season and probably produced one of the best crops in recent memory. And we all benefited from that if you like strawberries. And on behalf of Nash County Farm Bureau, thank you for supporting our farmers. And now let's enjoy our guest speakers. First year North Carolina Farm Bureau President Sean Harding and North Carolina Farm Bureau Director of Communications Lynda Loveland. Lynda will also be presenting the Agriculture Awards.
Hi everyone, I'm Lynda Loveland. I'm the Director of Communications for the North Carolina Farm Bureau. And with me we have Sean Harding, President of the North Carolina Farm Bureau. And we wanted to talk to you a little bit about advocacy today. That is kind of the cornerstone of who we are here at the Federation, and just how important it is to us, especially with the grassroots effort and what we're known for.
That's right.
Across the state. And just to kind of talk a little bit about how this year has gone in terms of advocacy. And it really started earlier this year when the pandemic hit. And we talked about, all of a sudden everyone's gone from work, no one can go to work, but the push was to get people declared essential, so to speak. And that was one of our first big pushes this year.
It really was, and not something you would have thought of. Obviously, none of us were prepared for a pandemic, and wait a minute, we're all going to go home. And so, the natural response was, what does that mean for agriculture? What does that mean for our farmers? And one of the things that we knew early on was, hey, we got to produce food this year. We got to plant a crop. We were in the spring.
Yep.
So what does that look like? And farmers, the joke was they've been social distancing for years, so we can do this, right? We can do this. And so we started making that case, advocating that farmers were essential. And I think the general public as a whole said, wait a minute, yeah, we need our food. We need our food, so let's figure out how to make that happen. And certainly there's some things that had to change, but we were, you know, that's, again, as you said, that's what we do at Farm Bureau. We let people know, hey, remember us, remember farmers, remember what we do for you, and this is essential.
Yeah. And advocacy happens really at all levels. So this was the state level that we're talking about, and also the national and local. And on a national level, it's happened earlier this summer when it came to CFAP 1 and 2. So after CFAP 1, of course, 2 came around, and there were some farmers who weren't part of 1. And so we were a big part of that effort.
Right, and all of that moved so fast this year. It was something that, you know, the government was trying to help folks to get through the pandemic, and it started with the CFAP 1, and then there were holes in the program, which quite frankly they knew there would be.
Yeah.
And so when that discussion came that, hey, we're going to try to fix some of those holes, we were a big part of that, and they reach out to us because of what we've done in the past, and that's great, and that they know they can get the information from us, like who's hurting, who's missing, and how can we help them. And so we were glad to do that. Got a great staff that provided that information and helped get folks help that they needed.
Very passionate staff about that too, working very diligently
Yep.
to get everybody included in that. And then we talk about on the local level, and that really comes to advocating, I think, with social media. Because of the pandemic, I think farmers and growers had more of a connection with consumers. They saw them more one-on-one, whether it was at farmers markets or even coming out to their farm.
Yes.
So people really got to know their farmers, and it was a great opportunity. We saw it all over Facebook. We talked to so many people involved in agritourism and how they were able just to connect and tell their story and really open the eyes of so many people who live in the city, urbanites.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because one of the first things that I talked about in the beginning of the pandemic was that agritourism would struggle because people were not traveling and doing those kind of things. And then we realized, well, wait a minute, we're outside. There's nothing really any more safer than being outside and socially distanced. And the agritourism folks did a great job of figuring out how to pivot and do things differently. But I think also you add a layer of people just concerned about their food and where it comes from. And so, yeah, we just saw a tremendous amount of interest in people going to farms this year. And that's been a great opportunity to share our story about what we do and to share that with consumers who, you know, maybe were at work in the past and now we're working from home. So.
And you saw that personally from your picked strawberries out on the coast.
Yeah. My son, who's running our farm, would call and say, I've never seen people on a Tuesday, Dad, before. You know, usually it's a Saturday thing. But people were home, and their kids were home, and so they said, let's go to the farm. And so it was a good experience for the farmer, it was a good experience for the consumer, and hopefully, you know, those will pay dividends in the future.
A lot of great opportunities, and like you always hear people say, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will, and you may not like the way they tell it. So it really is up to all of us, and it can take just a few seconds seeing someone at the farmer's market or a few seconds online to answer somebody's question on Facebook.
Yeah, and I know it's not all farmers' favorite thing to do, but I think we've all learned that we have to do it. It's a part of it needs to be a part of our business plan to stop and take a few minutes and say, no, this is how we do what we do, this is why we do what we do, and have that engagement. And I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, that's good. Well, we hope we emphasize enough just how important advocacy is really on all levels. And we wish we could have been there with you in person, but I guess virtually is the next best thing.
Yeah.
So thanks for having us. I hope you have a great rest of your meeting, and hopefully we will see you soon. Hi everyone, I'm Lynda Loveland with the North Carolina Farm Bureau, and I'm here in Nash County today to present a few awards. We're going to start with the Next Generation in Agriculture Award. Now this goes to Grayson Farrell here in Nash County. I want to tell you a little bit about Grayson. This is what was written about her. She is proud of her heritage, she loves agriculture, and cares deeply about seeing it grow. We need more young people like her today to keep this industry alive and well in the future. So Grayson, on behalf of the Cooperative Extension and as the Next Generation in Agriculture winner, here is your award today. Congratulations. Come on in. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what you do here, because Grayson just graduated from NC State last year, I believe, right, from the Ag Institute, and she has a lot to do coming out here on the farm. So tell me first a little bit about what you came to and what you're doing here on the farm.
When I graduated in December 2019, I came home and wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. My family always pushed me to go somewhere else and get a job, but after I graduated, I didn't really know. I couldn't find anything, so I just decided to come home, and I kind of did a little bit of everything. I started off in the office with my mom. She does paperwork and puts orders in and sells the potatoes overseas and throughout the United States. So I worked with her a little bit, and then did some payroll stuff with our secretary. And after that, I went to the packing house and did shipping, worked in the shipping office and put in orders, and then I'd help load trucks every day and kind of overshadowed the workers on the packing line. And now that harvest season has begun, I was here when the workers arrived. Some of them came back in February and some of them came in March, so I helped check them in, and you have to do training every year. So I trained them with my grandma, and then we got started in the tobacco greenhouses, seeding those. And so I was there every day of that. During the snow, I remember we got that big snow back in January or February. We were seeding the greenhouse that morning. And after that, we moved to the fields and we had to bed sweet potatoes. And then we planted the tobacco, and I was there with every step of that. And so ever since then, I've just been in the field every day. We employ 180 H2As, and I'm with them every day, walking behind them out here in the sweet potato field. I have to make sure they do what they're supposed to, digging them right, and set on the transplanter when we were setting tobacco. So really just every step of the way, I'm trying to follow in my grandma's footsteps so she can take a little bit of time off.
Well, you've certainly had your hands full, and we're out here in the middle of the field now, and they're harvesting sweet potatoes, and you are really out here all day with all of these workers. You're managing them and seeing the day-to-day duties out here on the farm. What has it been like for you? I mean, it's been an unusual year anyway, given COVID, and then coming out, this is a big job. So what has this last year been like for you?
It's really been eye-opening. Before I started full-time like I am now, I never really knew what all it took. All these guys, they give up so much to leave Mexico and come here to work. And it's just really eye-opening to see how they care about the farm, and they care about the farmers to help them get their crops up.
And you've also started to learn some Spanish, I hear.
Yes. I've been taking Spanish for many years. We started back in preschool. I went to private school. We started back in preschool counting. But ever since then, I've taken a Spanish class. And at state, I took a conversational Spanish class. So that really helps me learn their language, because Spanish that they teach you in high school is different than they speak. They have a different dialect. So learning that at state and then coming out here and catching on, they really want me to learn too, so they kind of teach me back and forth.
Nice. Well, so you've learned a lot this year, really getting out, going from the classroom out into the fields and really seeing how this is done. Do you want to continue, I guess? Did this scare you away? Because this has been an unprecedented year, certainly.
No, it didn't scare me away. It made me love it even more, so I will definitely stay.
Well, you say you love it even more. What is it about farming and coming back to the farm? What do you love about it, and why did you want to come back?
That's all I've ever known. I couldn't imagine when I graduated from state trying to figure out what else I wanted to do. I couldn't pick another job to do. I had no idea what I would do.
That's awesome. Well, Grayson, congratulations. Next generation in agriculture, your winner right here, Grayson Farrell. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're here to present the Agribusiness Award. This one goes to the Bass brothers, Wes and Leon Bass. Now, they couldn't be with us here today, but we have their presenter with us. Orville Wiggins, would you please step on in? And on behalf of Cooperative Extension, I want to present the award to you for the Bass brothers. Now, you nominated them. Why did you nominate them, and what makes their business so great?
Well, actually, I grew up going to the Bass Brothers with my father, my grandfather. Wow. So it's been like a family tradition, and like I said, they've been in business since 1905, so 115 years of serving not only Nash County but the surrounding counties also. So they're really an institution, I would say, for the community. So and like when you go into Bass Brothers, even though they're always busy, they still take time to help you out with whatever you need, Wow. It might take them 10 or 15 minutes just to service you, but they'll take the time. They're not looking like they're rushing to the next color. So that's that personalized business that you don't really get today everywhere else, So.
And you don't see that really. Obviously, their business has stood the test of time, being around that long. And one of the things that you wrote about them was their customer service and how great that is, because you're right. You just don't get that anymore, but they take the time, don't they?
That's exactly right. Like I said, you don't get some service at other places, And like I said, they cover everything just about that you needed over the years, from farm supplies to home needs, household needs, to groceries, to repair services. So really, it's like, I would say it was the old Walmart back in the old days.
No kidding.
Yeah, they pretty much carry some of everything. So.
Oh, wow. Now, what are these guys like personally? We talk about what a great business they have and what great customer service. What are these guys like personally?
Oh, just a nice, just down to earth home. I mean, just talk to you, just like your next door neighbor, you know, a family friend or whatever. So that's what it is, just customer service and just the personal touch that means a whole lot these days, you know.
That's fantastic. And I understood that WRAL, I guess, actually came and did a story on them because their business has been around so long.
Yeah, they did a segment on them a few years back, and like I said, I think it was well deserved. You know, we need to recognize our local businesses and that have committed so much to the community.
Yeah. And it sounds like also during COVID, I mean, so many businesses struggled during COVID, but it sounds like they were very supported by the community too.
Oh yeah, I think they got a loyal base because they know so many of the customers by first name, you know. So you go in there, hey officer, and like I said, and over the years, like I said, their product line has changed, you know, so they had to adapt to the time, you know, because like farming has changed since then, you know, and everything has changed, so they've really adapted their business to sustain the test of time anyway.
Well, thanks so much for nominating him. Thanks for your time, and congratulations to the Bass Brothers for getting the Agribusiness Award. It's time now for our final award. It's the Farmer of the Year Award. Great things to say about this farmer. Lynda Fisher is our Farmer of the Year. Lynda, come on in here. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
That is for you. Now, I understand you have quite a few things going on here at your farm. You have feeder calves that are your main thing. You also have some great pumpkins. We saw one of your big pumpkins. But tell us a little bit about your operation and what you do here.
I mainly am a livestock operation, and I have cattle, beef cattle, sheep, goats, and sell feeder calves on truckload lots in fall. And I grow about 8 acres of pumpkins and sell to the public, and have school groups come out, but we didn't get a chance to do that this year, but people were still glad to get out to come up here and shop.
I bet they were. You know, one of the things that was said about you in your nomination form is how much you work with the youth, and you're big about education and helping the youth, and how involved you are in 4-H. And in fact, I heard you won some 4-H award this year or within the last year or so.
Yeah, state 4-H awards, and I was really proud of that. And I think my parents would be proud of that too. My dad was in the honor club, and he grew beef, and he put in his record books helping to feed America to win the war, and I thought that was kind of neat.
That's fantastic. 4-H is such an amazing club. I grew up in 4-H, showed beef cattle for quite a while, and I made such great friends, and I learned so many life skills. Why do you think 4-H is so great?
It has an opportunity for people to find their niche in people and in career development. They find what they like, and so they can work toward that goal and learn skills.
Why do you like to help? I mean, that's one thing they said about you in your nomination is how much you just like to help. If there were some youth that needed help with their livestock or questions or feeding, whatever it is, you were always there.
Well, the livestock show is very close to me, in that my father was in that too, and I just felt the need to keep it going, especially the beef cattle show, the steer show, because that's a hard project, and it takes a lot of money and a lot of time, and people that don't have help just can't do that project. Okay. So I've been providing some children with steers and helping them get down there and get through the show, and it's been close to my heart to watch them gain from it.
That's quite a learning experience for those kids to go through that. Now, you mentioned also that normally you have kids out here, school groups that come out, and that's changed this year due to COVID, but why do you think it's so important to educate people, kids, about agriculture?
People don't get any exposure to farm life anymore outside of what they see, a visit on the farm, a hands-on visit on the farm today. Used to, they could go see grandma and grandpa in the summertime, they would pick up some things. They're so far removed now, they don't have a clue. So we have to tell our story. So I bring them out here, and I have crops from all over the county, and I show it. We name each crop, and I carry them on a little hay ride through the pasture, and we see the beef cattle and the baby calves and sheep and lambs and that kind of thing, and tell them something about what they eat, which they probably didn't know, that they exclusively eat grass, and that kind of thing. And I hope there are things that they'll carry over and think of farmers as being their friend and environmentally friendly and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Well, Lynda Fisher, congratulations, a Farmer of the Year. Thank you for all that you do, and many successful years, and hopefully next year you can get those school groups back out here.
I hope so too. I missed them this year.
I bet. Well, thank you. And congratulations to all of our winners. It was great to be with you all today. And I guess the holidays are right around the corner. You wouldn't think so by how nice and warm it is today, but hope everyone has a great holiday season.
In 2020, North Carolina Cooperative Extension Nash County faced many of the same challenges that the rest of the world faced. We had to alter the way that we deliver our programs due to the pandemic. We did a lot more virtual and recorded presentations and not quite as much face-to-face as we normally would. And as we often do, we adapted to the specific needs of a situation to help our clientele. In 2020, this meant dealing with the COVID pandemic. In Nash County, we typically have about 3,200 farm workers who work on our farms. These farm workers are often H-2A or migrant workers or other seasonal employees. And they live and work in close proximity with one another and therefore are perhaps higher risk for contracting COVID. So we partnered with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services as well as our local health department to acquire and distribute personal protective equipment to those workers to protect them and protect the farms that they work on and protect the citizens of Nash County. So we distributed 16,000 reusable cloth masks, 50,000 disposable procedural masks, 6,400 bottles of hand sanitizer, and 63 digital touchless thermometers. And we delivered those to over 60 farms that employ these farm workers so that they could protect themselves and protect the community.
We also wanted to take the time to take care of our migrant workers before returning home. So North Carolina Cooperative Extension Nash County Center partnered with the Department of Health and Human Services to provide a COVID testing location prior to our migrant workers returning home.
In addition, at the beginning of 2020, when resources and food were running low, we provided pesticide applicator kits, which contained Tyvek suits and masks thanks to donations from Nash County Community College and Nash County Emergency Services for pesticide applicators, since pesticide applications could not stop due to the pandemic. In addition, Nash County Cooperative Extension worked with the House of Rayford to provide over 33,000 pounds of fresh chicken to all essential employees in Nash County. This has been a hard and trying year, but it's thanks to the cooperation of our county and our citizens and farmers that we are celebrating today that we are able to provide so much support and assistance during this time.
Hello, I'm Sandy Hall, County Extension Director with the Nash County Cooperative Extension. I want to thank each one of you for tuning in to our Farm City virtual event. Although times are different, Nash Extension felt it imperative, especially during these times, to take a moment to reflect and spotlight some of our local farmers. Nash Extension has the distinct honor to work with our farmers in providing them research-based information, and that has become even more important during this time. During this pandemic, we have been fortunate to be led by competent, extraordinary people to help disseminate the information to assist our farmers as well as their farm labor in how to continue meeting the demands of the field. Thank you to our leaders at NC State University and NC A&T University, as they have come alongside providing us the tools necessary to work with our colleagues to meet the demands of this virus. A huge thank you to our county government under the leadership of Z. Lamb and Stacy Schatzer, along with our county commissioners, for your continued support and leadership under times of uncertainties. Finally, I would like to thank the Nash County Extension staff for their tenacity and quick ability to conform to a new way of communicating with our audiences. Thank you, Matt, Maryanna, Tracy, Regina, Kelsey, Amy, Brenda, Barbara, Maureen, Roberto, Adrian, and Tamara for your hard work in staying the course and focusing on the new ways to get information to the citizens. They work hard every day to support our local agriculture industry and provide services, partnerships, build relationships and programs in food, nutrition, community development, and youth development. Each year during Farm City, our 4-H Youth Development Program hosts a program called 4-H Hunger to Help. This campaign normally lasts during the months of October and November, along with our annual 4-H Agriculture Heritage Days, where we collect non-perishable food items and deliver to the local food pantries. These pantries depend on the food to help supply them through some of their toughest times during the winter. Since we have not had these events due to COVID, we are seeking new ways to collect. We ask any business or civic club that would like to join in the 4-H Hunger to Help campaign to work with us to collect food. We can help get these people food, and we can easily help get it picked up and delivered to the pantries. We are planning to have this campaign last through March of 2021. If you would like to join us in this effort, please reach out to me at the Nash County Cooperative Extension, and I will assist you in getting started or answer any of your questions you may have. Together, we can help put a dent into the food insecurities that we have in our communities. Farm life is very special to me because I'm proud to say that my granddad was a farmer in a little town of Whitakers, in which my cousin continues to farm this day. I understand the hard work, the sacrifices, and hours that farmers put into growing and harvesting their crops. This Farm City program reminds us how important agriculture is in our daily lives. As we approach Thanksgiving, I hope you are thankful for our farmers and what they bring to our tables. So I say thank you to our farmers, and let us be thankful every day. Lastly, we would like to thank our Nash County Farm Bureau and Ag Carolina Farm Credit as our sponsors. Without them, this would not be possible. Thank you for watching and supporting our farmers.